Well, somehow we're already in July and England are 2-0 down in an Ashes series, but far more importantly, what's been happening in the rental market in Bath and beyond? Well, here are our vital statistics for the month of June 2023. As you can see, on average, it's taken us 14.3 days to let each property that's gone onto the rental market. That's actually up slightly on recent months, and I'll delve into that in a little more detail shortly. 100% of asking rent, that is very much par for the course now. You're very unfortunate, or rather you're mismarketing your property if you're not achieving 100% of the asking rent in this market. And on average, when we've been reletting a property, we've seen rents going up by close to 9%. So I want to look at this in a little bit more detail. And in particular, let's go back to the start, to that average letting time that we began with at 14.3 days. Now, like I said, that's up slightly on recent figures. Now, I'd like to break this down because I think that we're going to uncover quite an important distinction in the current market. Now, I'd like to separate this out into flats and houses. So if we just look at the flats that we let out in June, then on average it actually only took us 9 days to find a new tenant. And if we look at the houses, because we haven't had many houses on the market recently, but we did get a few come back to the market during June, it took us on average 26 days to let those properties. So we're seeing a big difference in terms of how long it's taking us to let these different kinds of properties. Now, why is this happening? Well, it just seems at the minute like the family rental market is very quiet. We're going to have to see if that changes as we get closer and closer to the summer holidays. It's quite possible that it will, but at the moment that is a very stagnant market, whilst the market for smaller properties, 1-2 bed apartments and studios, is very active, high demand from tenants, which is causing those properties to go a lot quicker. And if we extend that out to the average rents that we're achieving, again, it's quite interesting. So for flats, on average, the rents have been going up by 8.5%. Now, for the houses, even though it's taken us longer to rent those properties, the average rent increase is actually higher, 10.4%. But let's look into that in even more detail. Actually, it shows that that market is a lot more volatile, because what we're seeing is a big swing in terms of the rents we're achieving. Whilst on one family house that we let out in June, we achieved a 29.6% rent increase. For another property, we suffered a 16.7% rent reduction. So whilst the average rent increase is higher than on flats, it is far more volatile. So what is this telling us? Well, it's saying that firstly, if you have a property, a house, and you're intending to rent that out, you may wish to consider doing that sooner rather than later, because the family market is not that busy at the minute, but we are coming into summer holiday season. So if there's any time at all when you should consider letting out your property, it's when families traditionally look to move home, which is during the school summer holidays. And we've also learned from that if you're an investor looking to purchase rental property or expand your portfolio, then I really would urge you to consider looking at city centre apartments, probably 1-bedroom apartments or studios, because the rent increases are far more consistent and the letting times are far quicker. So your investment will be a lot more secure if you concentrate on those kinds of properties to invest in. Now let's have a quick look at tenant demand. We're accustomed to extremely strong demand for the small number of properties that are currently on the market, and there's no change in June. In June we saw tenant demand, and by that we're talking about the number of tenants registering with us during the month saying that they're looking to rent a property. That increased by 21% on May of this year. It was also up by 22% when you compared it to June of last year. So we are seeing the number of people looking to rent properties continue to escalate, as it has done for many months now. Sadly, the number of properties available on the market is not increasing in line with that demand, so that's fueling those rent increases that we spoke about earlier. Now, before I go, I just want to have a quick look at a piece of information that I thought may be of interest that was provided by Rightmove. I attended a conference lately, the Property Mark 1 conference, which had a really interesting talk given by Tim Bannister of Rightmove, who shared a lot of the data that they have collected. Rightmove obviously is the go-to portal for any tenant looking to rent a property, And this graph, I thought, very accurately portrays this discrepancy that I've spoken about for many months now between tenant demand and the availability of rental properties. And as you can see, we've got a green line here which shows the number of available listings on Rightmove, and we've got a red line that tracks tenant demand. And as you can see, there is a yawning chasm between the two that grows and grows and grows until we reach the end where Rightmove have noted a 162% increase when you compared to May 2019. So that's the difference between supply and demand, is 162% higher than it was pre-pandemic. So that's all for this month. I hope that's been helpful and of some interest. I just want to bring to your attention, if you're local here in Bath, you're very welcome to come and join us at our upcoming Landlord Conference on the 26th of July. We've got Michael Tatters joining us. He's a partner from Thrings. He and I are going to discuss the Renters Reform Bill. I wonder when we're going to see some more movement on that, but we'll be going through the implications of these proposals for landlords. And we've also got Ben Stokes and Michael Skeeth joining us from Elite Consultancy Group, who are going to talk landlord compliance and share some top tips for landlords who want to stay compliant with their obligations, as I hope you all do. So that's all for this month. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.